Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. We're here to bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of the week. This is episode 349, and I am your host, Sean Hayes. And a bit of a light news week this week, but we do have a game review, so we'll have plenty to talk about. But yeah, mostly announcements of things being released or announcements of announcements. Not really any big releases right now. And not a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I know Wilds Unknown releases next week for Lorcana. But so that will probably be a big topic for next week's podcast. So yeah. Also apologies for the late start. I was working on some homebrew stuff on D&D Beyond, and I just really needed to finish it, and stuff gets complicated when you're trying to do custom species. So I think without further ado, we'll get right into this week's news topics. All right, so first up, Game Informer reports that PowerWash Simulator 2 will be getting its second sort of crossover DLC, this time with Star Wars. So we'll be getting it sometime this summer. The trailer showed off a couple different locations, and looks like it'll take you to the Outer Rim, so Tatooine, Hoth, and looks like also aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer, like a Rebel cruiser, and to power wash starships, moisture evaporators, run down bases, things like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of that. This is, of course, a sequel to the very popular PowerWash Simulator. I don't know, admittedly, how 2 is doing. I assume I hope it's as popular. But yeah. Yeah, I've never played it myself, but I have seen other people play it. But I had the experience of power washing IRL last week. So that was a bit of a trip. And it really is as satisfying as everyone says. Once you get everything working correctly. So yeah, sometime this summer, no firm date, but there is a trailer up on YouTube right now, just showing off some of this stuff. So it looks like they power wash an X-Wing, which is always fun. So yeah, Star Wars DLC for PowerWash Simulator 2. Next up, speaking of crossover DLC, we did talk about this several episodes ago, but Shovel Knight and Crypt of the Necrodancer has crossover DLC that is available now. It is $1.99 on the eShop for Switch. I assume it's similarly priced elsewhere. But this is it unlocks Shovel Knight for the game, unlocks 8 directional movement, a couple of different power-ups and modes. But yeah, this felt like a natural crossover to me. And I mean, the Necrodancer team does a great job. So I'm very excited for this. I will actually pick this up because I have both games on Switch. And then it's also like a Rift of the Necrodancer DLC as well. That adds Shovel Knight to that and some Shovel Knight tracks. So yeah, double crossovers. Our third bit of news. IGN reports that the much anticipated and controversy-laden Subnautica 2 will be heading to early access May 14th, and it will release for $30. That is in line with the previous 2 iterations. So honestly, my hope is that it gets the support it could use, so that Unknown Worlds can kind of, go stick their thumb in the eye of crafting. Because after everything that's happened with like the controversies and the just awful corporate hostile takeover, I hope that this game becomes super successful for them, and that I don't know, maybe it makes Crafton back off, or I don't know if they have to become successful enough to just buy the company back out. I don't know. Yeah, but I would love to see them get back into it. And this is all after court order has reinstated the ownership team. So it's always great. So yeah, the seems like a lot of Crafton's argument stemmed from them wanting more control over the publishing process, and in particular wanting to micromanage when it would release to early access. It seems that's such like a weird thing. This team's done it twice before. Have faith in them. I don't understand. I don't understand why companies would micromanage and just be letting this company handle it and then just printing money. I don't know. But we'll see what state everything's in on May 14th. I don't know. I am looking forward to this title, so I will be looking very intently as to its progress. And I'm very excited for it. So, and I hope if you are excited for it as well, go check it out. Last bit of news. Kotaku reports that a group of Wizards of the Coast employees who work on Magic the Gathering Arena are unionizing to United Wizards of the Coast CWA, which is Communication Workers of America. So this is sort of the typical move for unionization in the games industry, is falling under the Communication Workers of America. They are citing, among other things, layoff protections, remote work protections. So it sounds like this is coming after a round of layoffs. This is also after a remote expansion. Now there's been several mandates of mandatory return to office, and any new positions are being hired in the Seattle area that are listed as in office and not remote. So that is kind of a red flag for existing remote employees. So they want to make sure that they have that. And it's also, this is something that particularly grinds my gears, is if it can be proven that the work can be done remotely without sacrificing any quality, there is no reason to force people into the office to do that work. There's no reason. So that's great for one of the reasons. Protections against generative AI. I don't know if I really need to go into this. As people working on a creative product, you don't want C-suite executives who barely understand their own product to push generative AI into your workflow and end product. And here's the tip. Nobody wants it, folks. Nobody wants you pushing Copilot or Claude or ChatGPT or Midjourney or any of that other slop into the workflows, because all you're doing is creating more work for the fewer employees that you have left, when they inevitably have to fix all the problems your mandates caused. This was a whole topic that we had last week about the most recent patch for World of Warcraft and the supposed problems arising due to what is theorized to be a mandate from Microsoft to add Copilot to workflows. And then in one particular reason that I latched onto is retaining ownership of personal creative endeavors, because apparently Hasbro has clauses where they can claim ownership of a project worked on by an employee, even if that employee was working on it in their own personal, free time, not at work. That's wrong. If you are off the clock and you are not working on company time, the company is not entitled to whatever you're doing during that time. So, and the thing is, I had previously had job searches for at Wizards and Hasbro and stuff. But that was an eye opener. So, yeah. Since that's my whole MO, is I have a ton of projects that I work on in my spare time. I don't want anybody else taking ownership of it. No, thank you. And especially these are people that work on essentially a digital client for Magic. So, you probably have game designers, software engineers, you probably have art crews, illustrators and artists, digital artists. If they're working on a personal thing, they should be able to retain creative ownership. They are the author of that thing. And if they're doing it off company time, again, company is not entitled to it. So, Wizards did issue a response it was basically, we're gonna look at this intently. Yeah. You do that, Chris Cox. So, yeah, great. And honestly, I hope it expands to include other teams. Or that if they're able to, that it's not just the arena team, but that members of other teams are able to join in. So, because yeah, I mean, it's been theorized that the D&D team has had problems in the past, that unionization probably would have helped. But I mean, I haven't really seen a huge drop in quality, although I don't know how far out we are from Crawford and Perkins working on stuff, since they're over at Darrington Press now. But so yeah, absolutely, best of luck to this union, which, by the way, has an awesome logo. if I just want to talk about that for a moment, it's so they have the Wizards logo where it's like the star with the swoosh, and it's just got a hand gripping the star. So it's a very like like a power to the people sort of hand, which is like a closed fist, but it's holding the star part of the logo. It's so good. So absolute props to them for that. So that's our news for this week. Like I said, it's not a big news week this week. So yeah, mostly just that stuff. There was like a couple, I don't know, like some big shakeup involving Fortnite and some creator that has like very serious allegations against them. So Epic's pulling like content they created in the store. I don't know. I don't know if this audience is really cares all that much about Fortnite. So yeah. So why don't we get into our review of Vampire Crawlers? And I'm not reading the rest of the title. the game, it's like a Square Enix title on that one. All right, so we talked about it last week that it was coming. This is a deck building dungeon crawler, sort of first person perspective dungeon crawling. So sort of like, oh my goodness, it's an RPG series. Is it? It might be Etrian Odyssey that I'm thinking of. I'm gonna have to do a thing really quick, but it. So as a deck builder, you start with. Yes. Yeah. Etrian Odyssey. So you start with a deck of like 4 or 5 cards. And as you defeat monsters and get your experience crystals, you level up. And when you level up, sort of like in Vampire Survivors, that is when you're presented with choices. And in this case, you're presented with choices of cards to add to your deck. There are 4 different types of cards. There are red cards, which are weapons, from to use the Vampire Survivor parlance. So you have your active weapons are red cards. So these signify like attacks that you do against enemies. There are defensive cards, which are blue. So this includes like any cards that give you armor to block incoming damage. Later on, you can also get like health regen, which notably doesn't happen during battles, but it happens after battles. So I'm a little sad about that. I was hoping that it would provide like in combat health regen. But so blue is defensive, red is offensive. Then you have purple, which purple are mostly cards to like generate mana. So it's you start with like a certain amount of mana each turn. These cards provide you a net positive result of mana. And that's all that. So those are the only types of things that I've encountered within purple cards as a subset. And then yellow cards are like your utility items. So this includes a lot of like the relics, like non-armor, like spellbook relics in Vampire Survivors. So it includes things like spinach, your like duplicator, attract orb, things like that fall under yellow cards. They tend to do a variety, either like boosting, like temporarily boosting your stats in battle, or attract orb will let you draw cards. And so you're using a variety of these cards. So obviously you need red cards to deal damage to the monsters. Sometimes you can get away with not using any defensive cards. But generally, strategies will require you to use some element of yellow cards and purple cards. Just in order to be able to, as a deck builder, your deck works best when you can churn through it. And different characters have different play styles. They have different strategies. So I've used characters. I can't remember any of their names. But like the first character, when you play him, it's like whenever you then like get a passive ability that whenever you play a red card, you get armor. I think it's something like that. There's another character where whenever you play a red card, you get extra amount. So whenever you use a card that has projectiles, you get extra projectiles. There's another character where whenever you play a yellow card while her effect is active, your bonus experience stat goes up. So her thing is you just keep gaining more and more and more and more levels faster and faster and faster. Main character I'm playing right now, because I seem to really enjoy the play style, is don't remember her name, but she's the gunslinger from Vampire Survivors. Like her signature weapons are she gets like essentially like the dual pistols. So her ability is when you play her, like I think it's you either deal a bunch of damage or you get a damage boost. And then whenever you play a yellow card, you draw a card. And so there's a lot of ways to play those yellow cards to keep chaining and just drawing more and more and more cards. And then there are gems that you can apply to your cards so that can modify their effects a bit. So some are like reduce mana cost or draw a card when you play this card. Or there are gems where you can have that card count as a card of the gem's color. So like it might be like a yellow gem that you can then place onto like a red card so that it will trigger any effects as if it were a yellow card as well. And the passive stats return. So like you can spend gold that you accrue during your runs on passive stats to help make your character at baseline more powerful. Arcana cards return. So this also works. So with that character, I'm also using an Arcana card where it's whenever you play a card, any other copies of that card that you play for the rest of that turn are free. And so you just focus on like a lot of duplicates of cards. So that it doesn't matter how much mana you have because you're just playing everything for free. Strategy-wise, strategy is, compared to other deck builders, not as deliberate and like you're not racking your brain trying to figure out really like how to optimize your deck very well and kind of agonizing over how to do the correct thing every turn. Like it's not Slay the Spire in that regard. But it's much more kind of a fast-paced. So your goal is to chain combos where they generally occur in ascending order. So you play like a card that costs 0, then a card that costs 1, then a card that costs 2, then a card that costs 3. And every time you you do that in order, each one increases a like effect multiplier by 1 step. All right. So if you go from 0 to 1, or rather, if you do 0 and then you play a 1 card, its effect will be doubled. And then if you play a 2 card after that, its effect will be tripled. And then if you play a 3 card after that, its effect will be quadrupled. So your goal is to like try and do that. And there's like a gem where you can then like cause multiplier to continue if you go like in reverse order from that card. But yeah, I mean, I find I've been getting by with just doing very basic, like generally just stopping at like going from 0 to 3 with costs. I tend to prefer to just want to play as many cards as I can. So I'm often looking at like reducing mana costs. But yeah, they do like interesting takes on the music from the first game. So it's all the same stages, but you're looking at them from a different perspective. Same overall same sprites. Very similar sprites. They do a great job of translating the mechanics from Vampire Survivors, like weapons, to like a deck builder type game. And enemies approach you in rows. And so like you can do like knockback to push enemies back so that like they'll have to spend their turn advancing a row. Garlic might cause them to just lose an attack that turn. Freeze causes them to not move but just lose their turn. So yeah, and it's still the classic like just mowing down waves of enemies, Dynasty Warrior style. But it's been very fun. I will say, if you're a big fan of deck builders, this might be a little too simple for your tastes. But in particular, if you were a fan of Vampire Survivors and you also happen to like deck builders, this game's fantastic. So I'm having a great time. And it's $10. I can't recommend it enough. I'm playing on Switch too. It's also available for Steam, I believe. So it runs well. So yeah. Yeah, one thing I wish is that there was a better like in-game tooltip system for looking up like what certain effects do. That would be nice. That's kind of my only complaint. And then I do wish it was a little easier to like socket gems and evolve cards or modify cards in some way. Or just being able to remove cards. Like, so there's lots of effects that pop up on the battlefield which require you to sacrifice cards to get a benefit. So that is a way to thin your deck out. But part of what I wish is that it was like you generally only get gems in treasure chests, which you might get 2 every level, and one of which being like the final boss of the level. Like we'll drop a chest that gives a gem. But I think part of that is I just need to increase my luck score, and I need to invest in like skip and banish. So I assume those are coming. Like I don't think I've unlocked banish yet, but I definitely have unlocked skip. So being able to banish a choice, like if you know you never want a particular card, being able to banish that card would be really helpful. So I'm assuming that's happening because that was a big thing in Vampire Survivors, of being able to banish like certain weapons from the pool. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that. And yeah, like it just all the characters can play very differently from each other, I was playing as I think it's Poe. He's just like the old man who starts with garlic in Vampire Survivors. So he starts with garlic again in this game. But I think he gets an ability that does some like with armor. So I was just like loading up on there's an arcana where if you gain armor, like whenever you gain armor, you deal damage to enemies. So I was just like picking all armor cards and then just resisting whatever was thrown at me. So yeah, and it's great to just like do. I mean, I feel like runs are a little shorter than Vampire Survivors until at least as far as like initial levels. So, like the forest ends up having like 3 different levels within it. The library has like 3 different levels within it. So that you can do like progressively longer and longer and more difficult runs. So, yeah, that's my take. I mean, I don't think I've put very many hours into it. But I'm having a blast. And granted, I'm a huge fan of Vampire Survivors, as I've already said on this show. So there is a bias there, but I mean, it's such a great game, Vampire Survivors, and this. So I think it's their own take on doing, a deck building dungeon crawler game. And it might not be for diehard purists, but I think there's enough appeal, and it's $10, folks. Like this, you can't argue for much better than that. This is a case where, yeah, I still feel like it might be a little undervalued, like Vampire Survivors was, but it's worked out well for Ponkel, so some more power to him. All right, so I'm gonna stop rambling about vampire crawlers, and that is going to be it for our show this week. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. If you would like to help, or if you want to see more of this content, check out 8bitadventures.com. That's where we have all of the podcast feeds. Comics are back up. And so I got to get back into doing them. My goal is to do like my normal one and then try and do like a second one. And I think it'll take me a while at the very least, but the goal is to get back to doing comics, even if it's just semi-regularly. So, but if you want to help support that content, the best way to do so is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all of my current patrons. Alternatively, if you watch live, I mean, obviously subscribing on Twitch is also a way to support the show. But you could also leave a 5-star review on iTunes or the podcast app or whatever. That definitely helps with discoverability. I mean, we are rapidly approaching episode 350. So, I mean, this is, we're committed. Definitely committed to doing this. So, and then finally, I think it technically is 350 episodes because there was like a weird Pokemon one thrown in there somewhere. So for about 350 episodes, our opening theme has been One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And on that note, I'm signing off for the week. So, as always, have fun, everyone. Happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.